A pretext is a purpose or a motive alleged, or an appearance assumed, in order to cloak the real intention or state of affairs.
Initial access. OMI is trying to get into your network.
Listen, this is your manager, and I'm trying to send off an email. I got this document. Need you to confirm a few details. So go ahead and log in and tell me what you think. I need this now, so to make this convenient, here is the link. I'm a threat actor, phishing mark for email. It's urgent to distract you with it. So how fast you clicked it when you submitted the form with your password in it. You probably couldn't tell there was an actual difference in the URL. The domains look alike though. And to you it looks fine though, but mine had typos and make it look like yours. See, I was in the mood today to make your account a communal space, but then you activated your trap card, and I saw you had 2FA. But I just shrugged, I'ma shake it off. Got on kid gloves, I'ma take them off. Got your phone number, I'ma make a call. I'ma break this wall, it just makes me lol. I'm moving quick, I'm on a mission. Yeah, I heard your network is lit. I'm trying to get in. Yeah, I'm trying to get me a hit. When I go fishing. Yeah, you probably think it's legit. I got you clicking. Yeah. Hello. Hi. I'm calling you from the IT department. We have been under attack by some hackers, and we think that your account might be a target.
Oh no, how do I fix this?
No need to worry, I wrote up a ticket. You'll get a notification from your authenticator app, so please pass me them digits.
1 sec.
Okay.
Yeah. The code is 112345.
Thank you. You fell for the lie, so I hung up the phone without saying goodbye. Cutting it short like a crew cut. Probably think it won't happen to you, but it happens to Uber. They say you win some, you lose some. Boys got a smooth touch hacking you too, bruh. You know how I be creeping and I'm logging in your VP, and it probably looks anomalous. Some logs if you be keeping them, and probably unaware about the shares that have been peeping. And the reason I'll be seeking them, I'm looking for an easy win. You probably thought it was a magic trick, and you're mad you clicked. I'ma stack my chips and bet that a DA password is sitting in an admin script. I'm moving quick, I'm on a mission. Yeah, I heard your network is lit. I'm trying to get in. Yeah, I'm trying to get me a hit. When I go fishing. Yeah, you probably think it's legit. I got you clicking. I'm moving quick, I'm on a mission. Yeah, I heard your network is lit. I'm trying to get in. Yeah, I'm trying to get me a hit. When I go fishing. Yeah, you probably think it's legit. I got you clicking.
Hello, everyone. Hello again, and welcome to another edition of Generative AI in Azure. So, as always, my name is David Okiode, and I have with me here my co-hosts. Hello, Kenny. How are you doing today?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's session. My name is Kendi.
Nice. Yeah. So, how's everything been? Kenny, any new thing on AI in general that you've been looking at recently, or that's been interesting to you?
I've not been keeping up. I've been so busy, so I've really not been keeping up.
Yeah. I'm sure that you've probably heard about like the latest models that came out. So I believe Claude came out with Opus 4.7 just a few days ago, which is their latest model. And then previously to that, they announced a model called Mythos. I'm not sure if you heard about Mythos. Did you hear about Mythos? So
Yes,
they came
but
up
I've
with this
not been able
model
to,
called
like,
Mythos. So Mythos is not actually released to the public yet, because what they are claiming is the model is so dangerous or so powerful that it can discover vulnerabilities in almost anything. So they're like, oh, this is so dangerous. If we release it out to the public, then people might, harm themselves, or people might start using this model to hack other people because the model is that powerful. Now, some people think it's all just marketing. Some people think there's some truth to it because what they did was, or they announced that, and then they gathered together, top cybersecurity companies and Microsoft and some of the other people, and they're like, "Oh, we're going to release these models just for you, so that you can use this model to find vulnerabilities, so that you can quickly fix them. Because if we release this to the public, it will be so dangerous." But then, what some other security researchers are now saying is the same Claude security researchers found some security vulnerabilities in some of their products. So they're like, if Mitos is that powerful, how come Mitos didn't detect this? That we're the one reporting this to you, and Mitos didn't detect this. So essentially, there's like two sides. Some people think it's marketing, some people think there's some reality to it and stuff. So, but anyways, that's some of the things that's been going on. At least that I've been paying attention to. Yeah. So let's see. So today I'm thinking maybe we just have a very short conversation on workflows in Microsoft AI Foundry. Let me go ahead and bring up my screen very quickly. And let's go to share screen and entire screen and share my other screen. Are you able to see my screen? Is my screen coming up? Yeah, I can see my screen. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, can you see that? It's showing, I think it's showing already. Workflow orchestration. Yeah. So I want to talk about like this capability called workflow in Foundry. So of course, we already know this in Foundry. We've talked about it before with the new Microsoft Foundry experience. It's a service that we can use to build AI agents in Azure. We can always go to under agents and we can create agents in Foundry. But for many organizations, agent is not the end result of what they're looking to do, right? For many organizations, what they're actually looking to do is to orchestrate a workflow, to orchestrate a business process. They have a business process that they want to automate. They have some maybe pipeline that they want to use AI agents to complete. They're not just thinking about let's just create AI agents. They're thinking about we need to solve a particular problem. Now, when it comes to like solving this particular problem, hardly would you see where a single agent will complete the task. So usually what people will do is they will have multiple agents that are working together to complete certain tasks. So how do we build this multi-agent orchestration in Foundry? The recommended way to do that now is using something called workflows in Foundry. And I'll show you an example of what that looks like. So there are different types of multi-agent scenarios that we can build. So here are some of them that Microsoft talks about. For example, you have sequential orchestrations, concurrent orchestrations, handoff orchestration, group chats, Magentic, and some of that. Let's just look at some of them very quickly. Let's start first with sequential. So this is an orchestration workflow that you can use when you have something that needs to be completed in a sequence, right? So it's sort of like maybe like you're like in a factory, stage one needs to complete, and then that goes to stage two. And then stage two completes that, and then that goes to stage three. And then stage three completes that, and then that goes to stage four. So bringing that back to agents, we can build agents in a sequential workflow, and we can do that in Foundry. So in this case, you have an input that comes in, and agent one does the processing. Maybe in this case, it's just doing some summarization. Then it hands over to another agent, which does its own part of the process, which is just does like translation. And then after that, it hands off to another agent, which just does its own part of the process, which is it just does QA, and then the result goes back out. So this is a sequential workflow. This is very straightforward. So you use something like this if you have a series of tasks that your agent needs to complete in a sequence. So that's when you use something like this. But there are other workflows that exist. So concurrent could be useful if you want to do something that operates in parallel. You need to do multiple processes in parallel. So in this case, the task comes in. That task is distributed across multiple agents, which runs in parallel. And the results from all of those agents are collected, processed, and then outputted to the end user, right? So, and they give example of when this can be useful. So this can be useful in the sense of, just by the way, let me tell you an example of how I do something like this, even though it's manual, but how I do something like this. So maybe I have something that I'm researching. If I'm researching something, what I typically do is I get my prompt, and then I go to all the different models that I use. I go to OpenAI, I go to Claude, I go to Kimi, I go to DeepSeek, I go to Qwen. I open all of them, and then I paste the same thing across. Do you ever do something like that, Kenny? I do that a lot.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah. Is there anything that you found out with regards when you do this with the models? Any specific things that you found out that in the way that some models behave versus the way that you're like, oh, this is surprising. Like the way that Claude responded to this versus the way that OpenAI responded versus the way that Qwen or Kimi responded.
Yes, when it comes to Claude for data analysis, I would say like it's like the best model out there. Like when it comes to anything analytical. So compared to other models. So I personally prefer to use Claude when it comes to
Yeah.
anything data
Yeah.
analysis.
Yeah. So I'll tell you my own finding because my own use cases sometimes centers around researching information. So when I need to research information, what I find is that Claude, at least for my use case, is very good at presenting and writing. But when it comes to like the research, I found like the OpenAI models and DeepSeek to be much more stronger. I can't tell you how many times it happens very frequently that I expect it now, that I'll give something to all of them and I'll go to Claude and Claude will give me this very nice sounding thing. But because I know that area very well, I'm like, are you sure that this is this particular one is right? They'll be like, oh, thank you very much for telling me. Yeah, that is absolutely not right. I'm like, so where did you get this number from? Did you get this number from the data that I gave you or this one? Oh, thank you for bringing that up. I'm like, what are you doing? What exactly are you doing? So it just comes, it just does. Whereas I find that at least when I give that to OpenAI, it's more thorough. At least that's just my own finding based on my own use case. My own use case, again, it's more around centered around research. So I do a lot of research with some of this and a lot of learning with some of this. So this is when that can be useful where you want to do like a fan out. So you fan out the request across multiple parallel agents, and then you collect the results, and then you go ahead and then you process it. So this is just examples. So I won't bore us with going through like everything else. Let's just talk about how we can build orchestration workflow in Foundry. So let me go over here very quickly. So let me deploy a model. I'll just deploy a model so we can move on. And I'll just leave the default and I'll go ahead and create this model. So what I'm going to do here is I'm in the new Foundry experience. Oh, am I? No, I'm not in the new Foundry experience. So let's fix that. Let's go to new Foundry experience. Select my project. And that should take me to the new Foundry experience. Yeah, there we go. So this is the new Foundry experience. And what I'll do is if I go to on the build, and on the build, you see that there are two main things I can build now. I can build agents and I can build workflows. So what I'll do is I'll click on workflows to start the building of a workflow. So when I click on building workflow, I can go to create. And you can see here, it's already giving me some templates to start with. I've got a sequential template, human in the loop template. By the way, human in the loop is a very interesting one. So Kenny, let me ask you a question around this. Have you ever have you used like Claude or any of these AI systems to maybe create an application or to do something like complex or
Not an
create an
application.
application? Yeah. Or have you ever given it something the way it has to iterate over multiple steps, where it's like, oh, it's going to try to run a command and then it's going to come back to you and then it's going to try to do something and then it's going to come back to you. Have you ever done something like that? That's like, it's a long series of iteration that the agent is doing.
Not really, but I think in anything, I built a workflow. I was
Yeah.
testing out some things there. Then I think it's similar to this human in the loop. Like we've said in previous sessions, like these agents, they are prone to hallucinations. So that is where the human in the loop comes in for
Yeah.
to like assess whatever result it has given you before you confirm the outcome.
Yep. Yeah. So let me say something very interesting about like human in the loop. I'm looking at it to see if I can find the stats. So here's a very interesting thing. Somebody said something about human in the loop. He said it can be like a false comfort blanket that we use. Because if you look at the data of, when an agent is doing something, an agent is like, oh, I'm about to do this. Do you want me to proceed or do you want me to stop? What's the percentage of people that you think are pausing and are going, let me look at everything that you're trying to do? Or do you think people just go auto approve, auto approve, auto approve, auto approve, and just approve everything? Right? That's what majority of people do. And I can't remember the statistic. I'll look for it. I think it's something like to the point of they looked at all the responses of people to the agent, and it's something like 80% of people just auto approve. They're not even looking at it. They're like, yeah, I have no chance to be. I don't
Yeah, you don't want to go through it.
exactly, right? So because if you think about it, also, I mean, you're talking about a machine, an agent. It's going at machine speed. It's doing like maybe 50 iterations in 30 minutes. As a human, do you really want to be reviewing something 50 times in 30 minutes and looking at everything in 30 minutes? So you're like, man, just do what you want to do. Just, and that's the reason why sometimes in technology, you hear certain things, but sometimes we have to probe them a little bit further to see, is this actually effective? Or when would this be effective? So human in the loop, sometimes it can be a marketing thing. So, an executive, you're selling a product to an executive, they're like, okay, what will stop my people from like using this to break things? They're like, don't worry, we have something called human in the loop. But what the marketer may not tell you is that in order for human in the loop to be effective, there are different other things that are involved apart from just human in the loop. There are many other things that needs to be involved. Otherwise, people will just auto approve everything anyways. So, anyways, you have like some of these workflows. So what I'll do is I'll just create a blank one to show you how that works. But if I click on the sequential one, it has a template that we can use, but I'll just create a blank one. So let's create a blank workflow. And in the blank workflow that I create, let's see the process. So the first thing that we have to define, of course, is what is going to start the workflow, right? So if you've used N10 before, you see the filling of N10 here, right? So what is going to start the workflow? With the workflow start
Yeah.
based on a chart what will start it? So that is what we are defining here, right? So in the start. So that could be based on a trigger, that could be based on a timer, that could be based on anything else that we want to define. Is what we can define like in the start. So, anyways, I'll just leave that for now. So what I'll do is if I go to under here. So when we do the start, what is the next step that we want to do? So let me go over to make some changes here. Actually, before I do this, let me save the workflow first of all. So let's go to save. It's going to ask me what's the workflow name. Let's say this is customer support try-hard workflow, and save that. So maybe what this workflow will be doing is that it will take in customer support tickets. It will automatically try-hard those tickets, and then it's going to give like some response. So let's go to this. So let me go to click on the plus to add a new node. And under the new node, let me do some stuff. So let me go to this. Let's go to 1 minute. So let's go to set a variable first. So let's start with this one. Let's set a variable. So it said, what variable do I want to set? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter support tickets. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating a new variable called support tickets. And in the value field, what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter some array. So what am I doing here is, again, this is processing some customer support tickets. Ideally, if I'm doing this in production, maybe what I'll do is I'll let people enter in the tickets that they want to submit. But again, this is just a test. So what I'm doing is I'm just supplying a variable myself, and I'm putting in information on some of the support tickets that this is going to process. So I'm putting it in an array. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click on done to save the variable. So it's going to set the variable. So what I'm going to now do is I'm going to say for every ticket that exists in this variable, here is what I want you to do. So that's the next thing I want to do. So here we have 3 tickets here. For every ticket, what do I want you to do? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the plus again. And this time around, I want to use data transformation. This time around, I'm going to do this one. And let's go to the flow, and I'm going to do a for each flow. So I'm going to do for each. Now, when I click on for each, it's going to ask me and say, what do I want to do in terms of what item do I want to loop through? So I'm going to say for each support ticket, which is the support ticket that we set earlier. So it's going to allow me to be able to pick that out. So for each support ticket that exists here. So I'll select that, and let's go to the variable that is going to use. So let's go to, let me do some check. Okay, so what I'll probably do is I'll create a new variable called current tickets. So what am I doing here? So I'm saying for each ticket that just came in, I want to create a new variable for each ticket. So that's what's going to be called current tickets. And I'm going to click on done. So for each variable, so for each ticket is going to set a new variable for each of them called current tickets. But we're not processing anything yet. At this point, we're just still setting variables. We're not actually doing like any processing yet. But now what we're going to do is that within the for each loop, I'm going to click on the plus to add some process. And this is where I'm going to introduce my first agent. So what I want to do is that for each ticket, I want you to invoke an agent that will process that ticket. So let me go to this and click on agent. And when I click on agent here, it prompts me and it says, what agent do I want to invoke? So this is where I can go bring up any of the agents that I've created before. So the whole idea behind that is, let's say, Kenny, you work for an organization, you have a pool of agents that specializes in different things. So maybe you have an agent that does some transformation, you have some agents that does some triage. So this is where you can bring those agents and say, for each of the tickets, I want you to run this agent. And then after that, I want you to do this. So you can get the idea here. What we're doing is we're just building a workflow to solve a business process problem. So let's just go to for each. Let me create a new agent. I'll call this agent triage agent. And I'll create this agent. So it's going to invoke this agent for each of the tickets. But I'm going to give the agent some instructions very quickly in terms of what the agent is going to do. So the agent is going to use that model. So what's the instruction for the agent? Let's go to sort this out. So 1 minute, let's go to here. Okay, you know what? And there's something I need to modify here very quickly. So let's go to scroll down. So let's just make sure I've got node settings, input message. So what input message is going to be sent to this agent? Under node setting, I can say pick up the message, which is the tickets that we're currently processing. So that's the message that we're going to be processing. And I can also specify what is going to save the output message as. So if I want it to, whatever, after you finish the processing, what's the output? So maybe if I go create a new variable, I'll say triage results. Create a new variable. And if I go back to this, you're a triage agent that processes the current tickets that you're presented with. Your role is to categorize the tickets that you receive. So I'm just, again, we already used to this one. We've seen this one before. Just give it some instructions. So actually, let me give it some additional instructions here. Let me copy this one. And let's say, here is what you're going to be doing. So I'm just giving you some instructions here. I'm saying your job is you're going to take any ticket that comes in and you're going to classify them into one of the following category. So, and you're also going to provide a confidence score from 0 to 1. So category, so there's a category called billing, and anything that has to do with charges and stuff, you categorize them as billing. So we have different categories that we've defined here. So essentially the role of this agent is to take all of these and categorize them. So I'll just go ahead and leave all of that. The other thing that I want to do is I want to modify the response that this agent is going to output. So let me go do that very quickly. So let's go to on the node settings. And on the node settings, I'm going to make some changes to the output format. So because I want to do this, I want it to send the output in a specific format. So, okay, save output schema as. So let me go to this. Okay, actually, I already have save agent output messages triage results. And let's scroll up. Okay, I'll just leave that for now. You know what? Let me leave that for now and save that. So what have we done so far? So what we've done so far is we started by setting some variables. Then we said for each of the variables, we're going to set a new variable from them. And then we're going to send the ticket to an agent that will process them. So this is just like the first part of that. So again, nothing much that's going on here. So let's go ahead, and if I go to preview this, tests, just want to see what will happen. There you go. It's done something now. So what has it done here? So when I just clicked on that to start it, it took, let's click on that. It took the variables that we set, which contains 3 tickets, and it has all of those. And then it sends them to the for each loop, which is going to take each of them and is going to put them in a new variable. And then that's going to send each of them to the triage agent. And the triage agent, in this case, you can see it's using a fan out method, right, that we saw earlier. This framework, this one, is in a fan out method. So it has 3 invocations because it has 3 tickets to process. And invocation number 1, it categorized the first ticket as general with a confidence score of 1. Number 2, it categorized that as billing with a general score of 1. And number 3, it categorized it as general with a confidence score of 1. Let's go have a quick look at our tickets to see whether I did that correctly. So if I click on the tickets, and let's go to have a look at the actual messages that was sent. So let's go see this. So what I'll do is I'll close this. I'll go back to my workflow. I want to see the tickets again. So ticket number 1, is there a way to export all invoices as a CSV? So it's categorized that as general, I think. This one, I was charged twice for the same invoice last Friday, and my customer is also seeing 2 receipts. So it's categorized this one as billing. And then I can't figure out how to list customers using the billing API. Can you help? It's categorized that one as general. So in this case, what we have now is we have this categorizations that it's done, and it's done that automatically using the workflow that we defined, using the workflow that we built over here. So I just wanted to show you there's much more information that we're going to be covering when it comes to the topic of workflows. But I just wanted to show you this is a way to do what many people are used to doing in N10, how to do that in Microsoft Foundry. Oh, we have some questions in the chat window. So apologies, I missed all your questions. So let's try to address some of those. So let's see some of the questions. So Jose asked the question. Hello, Jose. How are you doing? Thanks very much for joining, Jose. Good afternoon from Angola. Wow, thanks for joining us from Angola, Jose. Oh my God, my sister here. Hello. My sister said she doesn't trust ChatGPT. Definitely, but the thing about it, sister, is that we can't escape it anymore, right? The cat is out of the bag. The whole world is going in the direction of AI, whether we like it or not. So it's true that there's definitely trust issues, but that is where we need experts in different domains like yourself. Like, you're an expert in your domain, so you can be the one vetting the results or the accuracy of what these agents are doing in your field because you're an expert in that field. So thanks for joining, sis. Let's see. Claude helped me write better automation scripts. Oh, nice. Thanks for sharing this. I love this kind of feedback. Claude helped me write better automation scripts than ChatGPT. ChatGPT always do basic. When it comes to coding, I believe many people have had the best experience with Claude. But Grok kind of over-engineers script and architecture for me. Oh, good to know. Yes, I've never actually used Grok before. So I mainly use OpenAI, ChatGPT, with Claude. I use DeepSeek. I use Kimi. I use Quen, but not actually like Grok. So I'm not too sure about the experience with Grok. But yeah, what you mentioned about Claude, I can agree with that, because when it comes to writing scripts or writing code, Grok produces the best result for me also. When it comes to researching information or researching technical information, technical insight, which is what I do a lot of, I find that Claude struggles with that. But when it comes to writing scripts or writing code, I agree with you that it does provide very good results for me also. So Good Lives also said, when I want basic chat, I go with ChatGPT. Nice. And my sister said, yeah, about that. Nice. Oh, my sister. Actually, this is not my sister. This is my cousin now. Palumi, sorry. I thought I was saying Palumi. Sorry, apologies for that, Palumi. So Palumi asked, oh, nice. Good to see you join. Is Foundry better than N8N, or is it more used in big corporations? Very good question, Palumi. So from an enterprise perspective, an enterprise that is invested in Microsoft technologies will probably prefer to go with Foundry than with N8N. If it's a startup and stuff, you probably can go with N8N. And what's the reason for that? Why would they want to do that? Well, I mean, the main reason why they want to do that is governance. Because the thing is, with Foundry, you have a governance ecosystem in Microsoft Azure. You have role-based access control, you have network controls, you have identity and access integration capabilities with Entra ID, which it uses for OAuth for the OpenID Connect authentication and OAuth authorization. So you have an ecosystem of governance capabilities. And when you're thinking about an enterprise, especially certain types of industries, they don't just think about functionalities. They also think about governance. So it's not just about how can we do this thing, it's how can we do this thing without bringing a risk to our business. So that is where they may have a preference for going with Microsoft Foundry versus going with N8N in that sense. Because again, Microsoft Foundry has an ecosystem of governance guardrails around it. So I hope that makes sense. Oh, and we've got someone joining us from Norway also. Nice. Thanks for joining us, Alan. Hope you got something from this. So anyways, this is meant to just introduce you to workflows in Foundry. What we'll do is that we'll go in more details in the next time where we actually build an actual production workflow to show you what that looks like. And by the way, one of the things to also mention is this is using the visual option to build a workflow. However, you can also build that in YAML. So you can see the YAML here. So if you wanted to use YAML to build that, you can use the YAML here. And also you can just use code to define the workflow. So instead of doing that using the visualizer, you can just use the code option also. So anyways, hopefully you got something from this. I can see Kenny's internet connection has some issues, so she had to drop. But thanks very much for joining us today. We'll pick things up from there next time. In the meantime, have a lovely rest of the morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you're joining us from, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.